Hello YouTube, back once again with my film reviews, and the other night I saw the third of the Disney live-action remakes, that being Pete's Dragon, and before I get into this movie, I just want to say one thing. Why Pete's Dragon? This is just why. This has been my thought ever since this movie was announced. Really, Pete's Dragon? Does anyone even remember Pete's Dragon? It's not like Cinderella or The Jungle Book. It's Pete's Dragon. Who remembers that movie? But I digress. What's the plot of this movie? The plot of this movie, it's about a little boy, only 5 years old, who in the opening sequence watches both of his parents die in a car crash right in front of him. I swear to God this happens. I was always just thinking, like, Disney, ladies and gentlemen, were you expecting anything different? And then from there, after he is crying over the corpse of his two parents, both dying in a horrendous accident, a pack of wolves are about to eat him, just devour this poor crying little kid. I was just like, Jesus Christ, could they make this any darker? But then he is saved by a dragon in the woods. He decides to name Elliot, and it is 6 years later, the boy Pete is discovered in the woods by a park ranger played by Bryce Dallas Howard, and she takes him to society, and from there it's him deciding whether he wants to stay with society and this new family with Bryce Dallas Howard and her stepdaughter who he befriends, or if he wants to return to the woods with his dragon. That's the plot of the movie. Let's get into the good and bad of this movie. The good, let me just say, the cast in this movie is really good. Bryce Dallas Howard, Wes Bentley, and Karl Urban, they all give really charming performances. They're all really likable and heartwarming, but I will say this, though, I could not fully buy Karl Urban as the villain because it's Karl Urban. He's just too likable. I mean, he's just so likable. Like, when they're trying to make him a jackass, they're clearly not supposed to like him. I'm like, yeah, not supposed to like you, but you're Karl Urban. You're just too likable. And, I will say this, though, I do like the fact they did not make him the straight-up villain. Like, when his, like, brother and sister-in-law are in danger, like, he just, like, jumps headfirst into danger to try and save them. So, even though he's clearly supposed to be the closest thing this movie has to a villain, he's not like a complete bastard. He is a good guy in the end, and so those three were all really not good and really charming. Oakes Fegley and Una Lawrence as the two kids, one being Pete and the other being his friend, Bryce Dallas Howard's stepdaughter. They both, well, let me just say, for kid actors, they were both really good. They both turned in really good performances, and they just had such a legitimate friendship with one another. It is very heartwarming just how these two bond. I love how when the girl first meets Pete, just how she's almost just like, hey, guys, I found a kid in these woods. He says he's 5. Is that weird? I thought that was kind of funny, but from there, though, the friendship they built, I did find very legitimate and heartwarming. That, and finally, Robert Redford as Bryce Dallas Howard's father, who claims to have seen the dragon when he was a younger man. Robert Redford, he gives such an incredibly warm performance in this movie. He is just so kind and heartwarming, and I just wanted to be hugged by him this entire movie when he's telling his story. I'm just like, Robert Redford, I just want to hug you. You're making me feel so happy and warm inside. But, I would see, like, if, like, this guy lived in my town, I would so be okay with listening to his story about how he claimed to see a dragon in the woods one day. Because he just gives such a legitimately warm performance. So, the cast is really, so like I said, the cast in this movie is really good. The CGI on the dragon, it is a very good CGI effect. Not just that, though, I do applaud this movie for never having him speak. It's completely mined his emotions. All he does is grunt, and that's it. It's like, they never have him say a single word. I do applaud them for not going down that route. So, good on you, filmmakers. And, honestly, the thing I really did like most about this movie, though, is this movie does just have a really laid-back feel from beginning to end. I know some people may not like this. Like, I have been, like, seeing reviews of people complain that they just thought this was such a slow, boring movie, but that's what I really liked about it. It just had such a laid back, quiet feel to it. Like this, like because it's not like it's trying to be that funny or entertaining. It just has such it just feels laid back. It's like it feels like when you're just like a cool summer night when you're like in a lazy, happy mood and you just want to hear about something interesting that happened to someone, and they just give you the story about this kid they found in the woods who had a pet dragon. So I really like that, and I also really like the touch that they made this movie take place in the '60s. Like, and I don't like that added to the feel. Like you're just listening to a laid back story of like someone recounting a tale from when he was younger. There is that feeling of disconnect because it's the '60s and not modern day, and like it just like I said, it just adds that feeling of just like laying back and just being told an interesting story from someone from of something that happened during someone's past, and I really do like that, and and that's what I do really like. It's just this movie, like unlike the Jungle Book, like that was like constantly trying to be funny and like intense or upbeat, whatever the scene was. This really just felt like it wasn't. It was just trying to essentially do its own thing. Like the only good comparison I can think of is a Studio Ghibli, like their films. Like especially something like My Neighbor Totoro, like just how like in My Neighbor Totoro, like that movie was kind of just people like just kind of like lying around, and there was just this happened to be this mystical being in this woods. But besides that, it was just kind of characters relaxing and living their lives with an interesting thing going on around them. But besides that, though, just them just relaxing. It's just a laid back movie, and that's what this was. It felt like a very laid back movie that didn't feel like it had to constantly be entertaining like the little children in the audience. It just felt like it was going to do its own thing, and I applaud this movie for that. And that because of that, then anytime something really intense, something really dark, or something really heartfelt happens, like it does really hit you because it just because like I said, because it feels so calm and so soothing that when something like breaks that, you do feel it. You're like, Jesus Christ, did that just happen? Like when there's a scene like when the dragon gets attacked, and like my entire audience gasped when that happened, like because it is so intense because you've just been lulled into like this almost tranquil mood, and then when something like that happens, it hits you. So I really do applaud this movie for being such a quiet film. But what's the bad of this movie? This was not a perfect movie. The ending I thought was somewhat of a cop-out, personally. Like, I know a lot of people found it much more heartwarming the way it ended, but okay, slight spoiler, when it comes to his choice, he kind of gets the best of both worlds at the end, and my only thought was like, I really felt like this should have either ended with, this would have been a much more effective if it just had to end with one or the other. It couldn't go both ways, but that's just me. I felt like they could have developed these characters further. Like, there's a few characters I was like, I want to know a bit more about these people, like, know a bit more of their psyche or, like, what they're like, but it's a very quick movie. Like, it was actually a surprisingly quick movie, but, because of that, I was kind of like, I kind of want to know more about, like, the relationship between, Carl Urban and Wes Bentley, because they're supposed to be brothers, but like that just doesn't really happen for the most part. But I really wish it did. I felt like I would have liked this movie a bit more. Like that, not just that, like Pete. Like I would like to have seen more of Pete's psyche as like him trying to trying to adapt to being in like a civilization after spending 6 years in the woods. But like there's just a lot of things like I really wish got more focused. Like a lot, like I wish this movie was like a half hour longer and they just spent like half hour just developing these characters more. But the one thing that really annoyed me more than anything in this movie that I just thought was really odd. I really wish this movie did not take place over the course of 2 days, because it's kind of hard to buy this movie when it's trying to be hard, like when it's trying to like sell the relationship between Pete and Bryce Dallas Howard's character, like the bond they build with one another, because you just can't help but think when Bryce Dallas Howard gets like so attached to this kid and like essentially wants to adopt him, like I'm like, you've known this kid for 5 hours, essentially. Jesus Christ, woman. Like if this took place over the course of the week, and you wouldn't even have to shoot the entire week, you could have just, like, made clear, like, a week's time has passed between point A and point B, then that would have been fine, but it's just the fact that no, it's clear this movie seems to just take place over like 2 days. You're just kind of like, you're just kind of like, why does this woman care about this kid so much? But it got, I'm sure this would not annoy everyone, but I just thought it was so weird and so jarring, especially when they try to get like a lot of emotions out of it. Like there's a scene like where like Bryce Dallas Howard like hugs Pete like when he's feeling low about life, and I was just like, I think I would find this much more effective if I could believe these two would be more attached to one another at this point, but they are because they've known each other, like I said, for only a few hours. But besides that, though, like I said, I do really, love this movie just for the fact it had like I said, it had such a laid back, quiet feel to it. So, for a final rating, I'm giving Pete's Dragon a very solid 4 out of 5. I was shocked. I loved this movie. I thought it was great. If the characters were a bit better and it took place over a longer time period, like something like My Neighbor Totoro, I would probably think it was even better. But as it sits, I do applaud this movie for being such a quiet kids movie. You don't get those usually. Like, I mean, I love like Disney animated film studios and like Pixar, but there's like usually for them they're always trying to throw something to keep the kids entertained. For the most part, this didn't really try to, and I do really applaud this movie for that. So, I'd say out of the 3 Disney live-action remakes, it's my favorite. I would say this, then Cinderella, and finally The Jungle Book. And, yeah, so I'd say go see it. It seems like this movie's going to be an unfortunate financial bomb, but I'd say definitely go see it in theaters. It's a really nice movie. YouTube, as always, please subscribe, and I will see you next time. Okay, bye.